After 57 years adrift in the silent abyss of space, she thought the nightmare was over. She was wrong. The company that left her for dead now wants her to return to the planet where it all began. And this time, she is not going alone. In the vast cold emptiness, a salvage vessel cuts through the darkness, happening upon a ghost from the past, the escape shuttle Narcissus. Inside cryo, tubes hold the promise of life, but only one is occupied. A cutting torch slices through the frozen tomb, sparking and hissing, melting away decades of ice. The sole survivor, Ellen Ripley, is brought to Gateway Station, a sprawling orbital habitat near Earth. A nurse greets her with a cheerful, "Today?" Ripley's reply is a hoarse, weak, terrible. She learns she is safe, but disoriented. The nurse mentions a visitor, and in walks a man named Carter Burke, a representative from the Wayland, Yutani Corporation. He brings a familiar face, Jonesy the cat, her only other companion from the Nostromo. Burke, with a practiced smile, introduces himself as one of the OK guys from the company. He casually mentions the side effects of her unusually long hypersleep. Ripley, sensing something is wrong, presses him. There. Burke hesitates, trying to soften the blow. He admits it is longer than she thinks. A shock, he insists. How long? Burke delivers the devastating news. 57 years. The shock is palpable. He explains she drifted through the core systems, found by pure blind luck. He calls her lucky to be alive. But the trauma of her ordeal resurfaces, as Jonesy hisses. Ripley is thrown into a violent panic attack, her breathing ragged, her body convulsing. She screams, reliving the horror. Medical staff rush in to sedate her as she claws at her own stomach, a phantom pain from a nightmare that feels all too real. She awakens, gasping, drenched in sweat. A nurse offers her a sedative. Ripley says, "No, enough." Later, Burke finds her, this time with more grim news. He hands her a file, her daughter, Amanda, whom Ripley promised she'd be home for on her 11th birthday. The file states Amanda Ripley McLaren died 2 years prior, at the age of 66, no children. The weight of 57 lost years crashes down. Ripley breaks, weeping for the little girl she'll never see again. Ripley is then forced to face a board of inquiry, filled with skeptical company and government executives. They question her decision to destroy the Nostromo, a star freighter valued at $42 million. She recounts the horror, the alien organism, the derelict ship on LV-426, the creature with acid for blood that gestated inside a living host. Her story is met with disbelief. An official coldly states that LV-426 has been surveyed, and is just a rock with no indigenous life. Ripley furiously retorts that it wasn't indigenous. It was from an alien ship, a derelict they homed in on. She warns them of the thousands of eggs her crewmate Kane saw. If even one of those things gets to Earth, she screams, all their corporate bullshit won't matter. The board is unmoved. They revoke her flight license, citing questionable judgment, and place her on 6-month psychiatric probation. As the proceedings close, Burke delivers one final, chilling blow. He reveals there are people on LV-426, a shaken big colony of terraformers, 60 or 70 families. Ripley is horrified. Jesus. On LV-426, at the Hadley's Hope colony. Life goes on. A manager named Al Simpson fields a call about a wildcatter who has found something out past the Ilium range. It is a mom and pop survey team, and the grid reference they were sent to explore came directly from the company. Simpson, jaded by corporate bureaucracy, tells his subordinate to lie and honor the claim. Don't ask. Out on the desolate, rocky surface, the Jordan family, Russ, Ann, and their kids Timmy and Newt, drive their prospecting vehicle. Suddenly, their scanners lock onto a massive, unidentified object. Russ exclaims, time. They approach a vast horseshoe-shaped structure of non-human origin, the same derelict ship the Nostromo crew discovered. Ignoring his wife's suggestion to call it in, Russ decides to investigate first. They leave the children in the vehicle and venture inside. Inside the truck, little Newt watches them disappear into the alien craft. Time passes, a long time. The story cuts back to Ripley, now a shell of her former self, working a menial job running power loaders in a cargo dock. Burke and a military officer, Lieutenant Gorman, find her in her bleak apartment. Burke gets straight to the point. LV-426. Ripley is incredulous. Gorman tries to assure her of her safety, backed by his tough colonial marines with state-of-the-art firepower. Burke wants her as an advisor, but Ripley sees through it. The company co-financed the colony. Their investment is at risk. He then dangles the ultimate carrot. He can get her flight officer status reinstated, a second chance. He even callously suggests it would be good for her to get back on the horse and face her demons. Ripley furiously refuses. But that night, the nightmares return. She is haunted by the chestburster, the creature tearing its way out of her. She stares at her reflection, a broken woman, but beneath the fear, a resolve is hardening. She calls Burke with one condition. Out. Burke gives his word. Ripley's response is simple and chilling. In. Aboard a warship, Sulaco. the colonial marines awaken from hypersleep. They are a rowdy, confident bunch. There's the tough as nails Private Vasquez, the cynical Private Hudson, the stoic Corporal Hicks, and their leader, Sergeant Apone. At breakfast, Ripley discovers there is an android on board. Bishop, her last experience with a synthetic was disastrous, an android who tried to kill them all. Bishop assures her he is a newer model, incapable of harming a human being. Ripley remains deeply distrustful. Gorman, the inexperienced lieutenant, finally briefs his squad. Hudson mockingly asks if it will be a stand-up fight or another bug hunt. Ripley steps forward to explain what they're facing. She describes the parasite, the embryo, the chestburster. Her story is met with jokes and laughter. Vasquez interrupts. The arrogance infuriates Ripley. She tells them coldly, "Horse." The Marines prepare for the drop, loading missiles and gearing up. Ripley watches, and when she sees them struggling with a power loader, she steps in. She effortlessly operates the machine, earning a surprised look of respect from Sergeant Apone and Hicks. The dropship detaches from the Sulaco, plummeting towards LV-426. The soldiers are strapped in, the mood a mix of bravado and nerves. Hudson calls it the express elevator to hell. The Marines learn this is only Gorman's second combat drop. The first was a simulation. Their confidence begins to waver. The ship punches through the violent atmosphere, rain lashing against the cockpits. Below them looms the massive automated atmosphere processor, the heart of the colony. The APC rolls out onto the storm-swept surface. The colony is dark, deserted, and eerie. They breach the perimeter and enter the complex. The interior is a war zone. Walls are scarred by explosions and small arms fire. Something has melted through the floors. Ripley recognizes it instantly. The Marines sweep the facility, but it is empty. Hudson reports to Gorman, it is empty. They move towards the med lab and find a horrifying sight. Specimen jars containing live facehuggers, twitching inside their glass prisons. 2 are alive, the others are dead, along with the colonists they were removed from. Suddenly, the motion tracker beeps, a single signal. Moving towards them, they corner it, but find only a terrified little girl. She bites the soldier who grabs her and scurries into the ventilation system. Ripley, her maternal instincts kicking in, coaxes her out. The girl is feral and traumatized. Ripley cleans her up, finding a photo identifying her as Rebecca Jordan. When Ripley asks where her parents are, the girl's answer is chilling. She tells Ripley the soldiers won't make a difference. Mostly. The girl's name is Newt. She is the only survivor. Hudson suddenly gets a signal. He has found them, all of them, clustered together beneath the primary cooling towers of the atmosphere processor. The Marines move out, descending into the bowels of the station. The environment becomes organic, alien. Walls pulse with a secreted resin. Ripley realizes the danger. Their pulse rifles fire explosive, tipped rounds. A firefight in here would rupture the heat exchangers, triggering a thermonuclear explosion. Gorman panics and orders Apone to collect all ammunition. The Marines are stripped of their primary weapons, left with only flamethrowers. They find the colonists, cocooned to the walls, still alive. One woman pleads, "Help me." Before they can react, her chest erupts. A baby xenomorph, a chestburster, is born in a spray of blood. The nest awakens. Aliens swarm from the walls, the ceiling. The Marines' motion trackers light up with dozens of signals. Chaos erupts. Soldiers are dragged screaming into the darkness. Gorman, overwhelmed, freezes. The chain of command shatters. Watching on the monitors, Ripley realizes they are being slaughtered. She seizes control of the APC, smashing through gates and walls, driving directly into the nest. She plows through the swarming aliens, crushing them under the vehicle's massive wheels, providing an escape for the few remaining survivors, Hicks, Hudson, and Vasquez. They escape the nest, but as they race back to the dropship, an alien ambushes the pilots. The ship crashes and explodes in a massive fireball. They are stranded. Hudson completely breaks down. Over. Ripley takes charge. She demands he help find the station's blueprints. Hicks agrees with her plan. Nuke the entire site from orbit. Sure. Burke protests, citing the installation's dollar value. Hicks, now in command, overrides him and contacts the Sulaco to prepare for dust-off. They decide to barricade themselves in the operations center. Their only hope is for Bishop to crawl through a narrow service conduit to the colony's main transmitter and remotely pilot the second dropship down from the Sulaco. With their remaining pulse rifles converted into automated sentry guns, they seal the corridors and prepare for a siege. Ripley puts Newt to bed, finding a moment of peace. She promises the little girl she will never leave her, a promise she intends to keep. Her peace is shattered when she discovers Burke's treachery. He disabled her monitoring of the med lab and intended to smuggle the facehugger specimens back to Earth, using her and Newt as unwilling hosts. Before they can deal with him, the power is cut. The aliens are coming. The sentry guns roar to life, mowing down wave after wave, but the ammo counters drop alarmingly fast. The motion trackers go wild again. The aliens aren't in the corridor, they're in the crawl space, right above them. The ceiling panels burst open. A desperate firefight erupts in the cramped command center. Hudson is dragged away, screaming his last defiant words. Berg panics and seals himself in a room, only to be cornered and killed by an alien. Ripley, Hicks, and Newt flee into the ventilation shafts, guided by Bishop's voice over the comms. Vasquez and the injured Gorman are cut off. Surrounded and out of ammo, they make their last stand. Vasquez pulls the pin on a grenade, taking them and the swarming aliens with her, in a final defiant explosion. An explosion sends Hicks and Ripley tumbling. Newt falls down a shaft and is swept away by rushing water. Ripley and Hicks race to save her, cutting through a floor grate, but it's too late. An alien snatches Newt from the water and disappears into the depths of the complex. Ripley is about to break, but Hicks reminds her Newt is alive, taken to be cocooned. They are ambushed by another alien, and Hicks is badly wounded by its acid blood. Ripley drags him to safety just as Bishop arrives in the second dropship. The atmosphere processor is critical, with only minutes to melt down. But Ripley refuses to leave. Taping a pulse rifle to a flamethrower and grabbing a bandolier of grenades, she prepares to go back into hell alone. She tells a wounded Hicks, "Ellen," he replies, "Dwayne." Ripley descends into the hive, a one-woman army. She follows Newt's tracker through the steaming, resin-coated labyrinth. She finds Newt, cocooned and about to be implanted. She frees her, but as they turn to leave, they find themselves in a massive chamber. It's the throne room of the alien queen, a monstrous matriarch attached to a giant egg-laying ovipositor surrounded by hundreds of leathery eggs. The queen senses them, and a tense standoff ensues. Ripley aims her flamethrower at the eggs. The queen understands the threat and allows them to back away. But, as an egg begins to hatch, Ripley unleashes hell, torching the eggs and blasting the chamber with grenades. Enraged, the queen detaches from her ovipositor and gives chase. Ripley and Newt flee as the entire complex begins to shake apart. They reach the platform with seconds to spare, the queen hot on their heels. The dropship is gone. Ripley screams Bishop's name in despair. Just then, the ship ascends into view. They scramble aboard as the platform collapses into the thermonuclear inferno. The colony erupts in a mushroom cloud, but they've made it. They are safe, or so they think. Back on the Sulaco, the queen, having stowed away in the landing gear, emerges and rips Bishop in half. Newt hides under the floor grating. Ripley, seeing the ultimate threat to her child, utters a now iconic line, "Bitch." She appears, piloting the power loader. The ultimate battle of mothers begins. A clash of flesh and steel, instinct and rage. Ripley uses the loader to grapple with the queen, dragging her towards the main airlock. She opens the outer door, and the vacuum of space rips the queen from the ship, sending her screaming into the void. The battle is finally over. The survivors, Ripley, Newt, the wounded Hicks, and the still functioning Bishop, prepare for hypersleep. Newt asks if she can dream. Ripley, holding her close, says, "Can." Having faced her nightmare and won, Ripley has found a new daughter and, for the first time in 57 years, a reason to hope.